In other news then, Brazilian President Lula da Silva has urged his government's South African counterpart, Cyril Ramaphosa, to boost defense cooperation while warning that both countries were vulnerable to foreign invasion. Both Lula da Silva and the visiting Cyril Ramaphosa have been critical of the war against Iran waged by the United States and Israel.
But I don't know if Comrade Ramaphosa realizes that if we don't prepare ourselves in terms of defense, one of these days someone will invade us.
Ramaphosa noted that Brazil was much more advanced than South Africa in defense and aviation, while adding that the latter has a lot to learn from each other.
And in defense and aviation, you are much more advanced, and we have a lot to learn from each other, and we also have a lot to show you as well.
South Africa and Brazil are members of the BRICS group of emerging nations, which President Trump has labeled anti-American. The bloc also includes China, Russia and Iran, among others. Well, Lula da Silva has been especially critical of Washington's actions in Latin America, saying that U.S. attack on Venezuela that led to the ouster of President Nicolas Maduro crossed an unacceptable line. Prior to that, the U.S. military carried out several airstrikes on alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean. Last week, Trump even offered to help Latin American leaders combat drug cartels with U.S. missile strikes targeting narco kingpins. Brazil's foreign minister and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio discussed Washington designating Brazil's two biggest criminal gangs as terror groups. And for more on this, we are being joined by, in fact, this is Calden Ongmu from Johannesburg, who sent us this report.
Brazilian president has urged his South African counterpart, President Cyril Ramaphosa, to boost defense cooperation, warning that both countries were vulnerable to foreign invasion amid the rising geopolitical tension. Lula made the remark on Monday during Ramaphosa's two-day state visit to Brazil. He also suggested that both countries should explore joint industrial and technological development in the defense sector and does not need to rely and keep buying from foreign arms supplier. Both the Global South countries and members of BRICS have been labeled anti-American by U.S. President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Pretoria has called for an immediate ceasefire in the Middle East. This is Calden Ongmu from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION The World is One.